Hello everyone and welcome to a bonus video for Soundodger 2. This one is going to deal with all of the new things in version 0.1.3. We're going to get to the editor pretty soon, but first I just want to take a look at some of the things that are found at the level select screen. We've now added a mods button. If you click that, you'll be taken to this new window. To use any of the mods, first you need to turn it on by clicking that off button, and now it says active. And you'll notice a cannot save icon is in the bottom right corner. Whenever you see that, that means that the game will not be saving any of your high scores. So you don't have to worry about messing them up by cheating or playing some weird version of a level. So Zen mode is from the first Soundodger game, and this allows you to play the game without worrying about getting hit or losing hearts or anything like that. You can grind, you can graze the bullets as much as you want and get a really nice score. And again, it won't be saved anyway, but it's a good way to show off a level without having to worry about playing perfectly every time. Hidden will actually make your player icon cursor invisible, so you won't see it at all, which is useful for, let's see, music video levels, showcase levels, things where you just want to show really pretty patterns. We're actually going to show you Twisted, just so you get an idea of what that one is. So that is the twist effect that you can do in the editor, but the difference is you'll notice that everything twists with the arena. So watch here, as the arena spins, the bullets actually move with it. So this is now a straight line. All of these hugs are now kind of twisting with the arena, and you get very interesting looking patterns. So now all of these pluses are kind of wiggling with the arena and stuff like that. And again, I can't get hurt because I have Zen mode on. You also notice that when we're paused or during the beginning or end of the level, you'll see icons that let you know which mods are active. And again, that cannot save icon is right there. So this is Zen mode and Twisted right there. Some other stuff, we'll leave Zen on, but gravity, you can imagine gravity always being turned on, and here it's pulling things downward, pulling things upward. This one is when it oscillates, so it actually goes up and down on a regular pattern. Decay mode is where your bullets or you are very large, twice the size actually, so this makes you twice as big. This makes the bullets twice as big, and this will make both of you, players and bullets, twice as big. So if you have a custom level where all of the bullets were already large, they are twice as large as that. If they were like half size, now they're double to regular size, if that makes sense. So we'll have oscillate on and decay mode on just the bullets. And playback speed, you can kind of guess what that is. That is how fast the music is, and therefore how fast the level is. You can go all the way to 200, or you can have it as slow as 10%, which is not very fun, but it's there. If you want to practice a level that's really difficult, maybe set it to 50%, 80%, something to help you out. We'll do 150% speed, oscillating, decay mode on bullets with Zen. So we will try that out on, let's go right here. You can see all the symbols in the top left corner. Oh my goodness. So the gravity is oscillating, it's now pulling things upwards, and now gravity's pulling things downwards. This is borderline unplayable, but hey, if you want to give yourself a new kind of challenge, give mods a chance there. One last thing is if maybe you'd want to play test a level that you're working on, or you want to try it out without having it record scores for whatever reason, if you turn all of these back to their defaults, you'll still be able to have your mods active, but still have it not saved. So all this does is let you play any level you want and not have to worry about it saving your score or anything like that. So very good for if you're practicing working on your own levels. A quick shortcut is to right click here, so you don't have to bring up this menu every time. Another thing is if you have your own levels that you're testing, or maybe you want to retry these levels in the main game, there's now a right click menu, and you can right click and delete scores. It will ask you a second time if you're sure. You can also right click the entire level ticket itself, and it'll delete all of the scores here, 1, 2, 3. If you wanted to do that, I do not want to do that. Let's go back to the title, and I'll show you some extra stuff there is for that right click menu. We'll go to user levels, and you'll notice when you're in user levels, there's additional stuff here. You can now view level file. So if I were to click this, it'll actually open up a Windows Explorer pointing to the exact XML file. And if I click open an editor, it'll actually take us to the editor and open up a file immediately. So that's very handy. So now we're going to begin our little editor portion of the tutorial. And we have a lot of stuff to cover here. So let's get right to the settings window. You'll see that some of the options have moved around. They're not gone. They just moved down here. Level creator and level notes are now down here because it makes sense that they should be down here. So if you've been looking for them while watching the previous videos, here's where they are now. They just moved down here. Gameplay is where a whole lot of stuff has changed. So you'll first off notice that there's a plus center button, which will actually add a center enemy. And you can't see my cursor right now. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Properties, capture cursor. There she is. Okay, so I had a plus center here. You'll notice this center enemy is now in the background there. It is an enemy that exists in the center of the arena. You can't go through it, and it's always there. The cool part is it adds a 0 to the enemies list on the marker deck, and so you can have enemy 0 shoot stuff. There it goes. It's always aiming up. It does not spin with the arena. And so if you have an offset of 180, it'll always be aiming down, so it's very consistent with how you want to use it. This is kind of feels like a final boss mode, but there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with your center enemy. And this works for any amount of enemies, so you can go all the way up to 64, which is ridiculous, or you can even have 0 enemies, quote unquote, plus a center, so there's only a center enemy. We're going to go back to 4, why not? Exclude is useful if you want to have a very special orientation of levels, a certain layout of enemies. If you have, let's say you just want to have like enemies, let's reset this, enemies 1, 2, and 3, or how about 12, 1, and 2, so they're right at the top, right at the beginning level. So you want to exclude 3 through 11. We don't want to have those guys, right? So we're actually going to type 3 through 11, and when we leave, you'll see they're not even there. So this also removes them from the marker deck up here on the top right, which just makes it easier for you to keep track of which enemies are actually going to be in the level. If you did this normally, these would just be visible buttons and it would be hard for you to keep track. So this just makes it much easier for level creators to keep track of special configurations of enemies. Animation is pretty cool. This is a whole different set of ways that the enemies animate and appear throughout the level. So normal is what you're used to in Soundodger 2. Classic is actually what they did in Soundodger Plus, where they did not animate. So when they fire, they don't squeeze, they don't stretch out, they don't kind of do any of those fun little extra things there. If you go to appear, this one's really fun. The enemies actually will appear only when they're firing. So you don't know how many enemies there are. There's one appearing, there's another, there's another. So you'll never actually know how many enemies there are until they're all firing at the same time. Very useful if you want to perhaps save the center enemy for much later and you won't have it fire until the end of the song. You'll be like, oh, there's a center enemy this whole time. It's been hiding right in front of me. Hidden is kind of like appear, except the enemies never appear. So I'm actually bumping into the center enemy. So that lets me know that it's there, and all the other ones are somewhere around the edges. I just can't see them very well. Constant is the opposite, I would suppose. So you might think this is how the game always is, but if an enemy has no more bullets to fire for the rest of the song, it usually leaves the arena. So this time the bullets won't make an enemy leave. An enemy will actually just stay there until the very end of the song, no matter if it has bullets to fire or not, which is a nice way to, I guess, maintain tension with the player and make them think, oh, they're going to fire bullets, they're going to fire it because they haven't left yet and they actually have nothing to fire. So anyway, use that at your discretion. I'll put them back on normal here. Flares are those things that happen when the enemies fire their bullets, those big flares that happen behind them. So normal is the one you're used to. Beam is a little bit different. So instead of fading out, they actually start at their regular size, and you can see they kind of get thinner as they fire off. And the middle enemy doesn't have any flare, so don't worry about that. There's also none, so there just won't be anything. So you can have hidden enemies and no flare, so you just won't see anything but bullets appearing if you wanted to do that. I'll put it on normal, and we'll also do exact fit, which is pretty cool. So exact fit will fill the flare to be exactly with its neighbor. If they were all firing at the same time, it would fill the whole screen perfectly. So it doesn't matter how many enemies you have. So if you only have 4 enemies, we'll get rid of the center for now. If you have 4 enemies and they're firing, you'll see it actually fills up 1/4 of the entire arena there. So if I were to do even 2 enemies, It fills up half the screen for the flare as it fires off, which is pretty cool. And yes, that does mean if you have one enemy, it will fire off and fill up the entire arena, which is pretty cool. The flare just fills up the whole thing, 360. So we'll go back to 4 enemies. That's the exact fit right there. So you'll also notice there's a wrap button here. It used to be a selectable drop-down for movement types, and now wrap is just a toggle. So the classic toggle mode of wrap that you're used to is now just here. So normal with wrap turned on. So you can see my player cursor can go up and down and warp to the edges, which also means you can combine it with horizontal movements, so you can kind of wrap this way. Before it was just like this, and no one so far has made a horizontal level, so maybe this will encourage them to find ways to get you to move around and stuff like that. You can't use it for every single one. It doesn't quite make sense for progress, doesn't make sense for inside, but outside you can also do wrapping as the arena gets larger and larger. So even when the arena is, let's zoom out here, is that large, you can still oh, did I turn it off? I was like, why isn't it working? Hold on. There we go. Okay, so you can wrap here. When it does get too large, though, you can't wrap anymore because you're stuck inside of the edge there. So that's intentional, so don't worry about that. Just keep that in mind. And lastly, you might have been looking at this thing, import from Soundodger Plus. Finally, you can import Soundodger Plus levels. So I'm going to pick a level from Soundodger Plus. Let's see if I can find this real quick. Here we go. This may not fit perfectly. This isn't the original song that this goes with, but I'll just pick 16 and Dangerous Advanced. So I'm going to open that up from Soundodger Plus, level data imported. And you can see it's given me the color scheme and the bullets laid out nicely, so it actually separates them. Each layer here is now a different type of bullet. So this is from Soundodger Plus. This will be arrow 1, arrow, or linear A, linear B, and then this would be homing and bubble and hug, heart, and error, I think, would be right here. So they're all separated pretty nicely. So they're all here. You can save it now. You still cannot open levels from the welcome screen of the editor. It'll tell you, if you try and open a Soundodger Plus level, it'll now tell you you can't do it directly. So first you have to make an empty project like this, and you'll be able to play or kind of import something from Soundodger Plus, which is pretty cool. So have fun with that. Just make sure you save afterwards. Oh, look, it changed the name to 16 and Dangerous. Fancy. What else did it change? Yep, okay. It changes some things like that. Changes the number of enemies, the title of it as well. I'm going to actually reload without saving, so I'm going to click that, reload. We'll be back to our original style there. The last thing you'll notice is the visuals has a brand new drop down for background, and that is stars, which we've been looking at. So the stars are pretty cool. It's a star field that keeps growing. The cool part is, as the arena starts rotating, the star field rotates with it as well. So as it starts rotating, you see the star fields rotating there. It's pretty cool, and it is tied to the time warp as well. So time warp will make it spin faster and stuff like that. We can move to the edges, and it gets really kind of trippy as we're moving through. And that is, of course, controlled just like before when we're editing colors. So we can change the color of the stars. We can have them be any color here. We can make it look like a classic star field and have it just black and white, do something like that. So pretty cool looking. That's it for the settings window. There are plenty more things that you've probably been looking at here, such as this time bar, which is now here. So now no longer do you need to right click to place the playhead. You can actually click up here, normally left click if you want. You can also drag the playhead, which is very nice. And that also can drag through events. So if we were to have, for example, a size that goes from big to small to big or something like that, I'll select these two and put them back to default here. Let's say if you drag, you can actually kind of scrub through the size of the arena changing. So that works with size, dist, chromatic, aberration, spotlight, and blur. Time and twist need to have the level playing for that to work. Time, twist, spin, and gravity. I guess you wouldn't see that either. You'll notice that twist has been moved up here because that does make more sense to be with these things because they kind of spin and twist affect each other. So all these things down here are just cosmetic and don't really change gameplay. Some other things, you have the If you zoom all the way out, that's the full length of the song, and there's 0, but if you zoom in, these kind of just tell you the edges of what's visible. So if I zoom in really far, I'm only looking at 124 seconds to 127 seconds, so this is only 3 seconds of a visible timeline right here, just to keep track of where you are in the level. You'll also notice there's a new lock symbol over here, and there's some grayed out stuff that we can't quite click. So if I click that lock, it'll unlock and kind of flip, so the time has turned gray so we can see easier, but you can see that these are draggable buttons now, and this is actually for custom start and ends of the song, like for the challenge modes you've seen in the main game. That is how I do that. So this is actually where the song would start, and this is a fade in if you want to have the audio not start on a dime but kind of fade in slowly. So if I do it like this and start, you'll hear it just starts immediately, but if I do this, it'll fade in nicely. And now that I have this set somewhere specific, if I rewind to start, you'll see it always starts exactly right there and resets the orientation of the enemies. So you can keep playing like that. Same thing applies to the end. It's kind of hiding over here, but you can drag that in. And it doesn't let you, drag things past, but you can do that same thing and they kind of stay there. When you're all done, you can unlock it, and then they are locked in place and you can't accidentally move them, and they are stuck there in the level. So this also updates the audio preview. This right here isn't just the middle. This is where the 10-second audio preview is, so you can kind of put your playhead there and listen to where you're going to have those 10 seconds available. And again, those are locked to be inside of your custom start and end times for it. So that's how you quickly can do challenge mode esque limited sections of levels. I'm sure people were doing that previously by hand editing the XML, but now you no longer have to do that. Let's see, I'm going through my schedule here of all the stuff we have to do. So another thing you can do, which is brand new, you've seen this button, you've been staring at this button now. This is the Add Bookmark button, and that's also Control X. So if you click that, it actually adds a bookmark. I'm going to check my lock there so I can actually mess with these. And so a bookmark is a special type of marker that's outside of the timeline. It's on the time bar up top. And this exists between different tabs, so bullet tabs, event tabs. And so that is a way for you to mark something special that happens. Let's find something special in the song. How about, all right, so the beat drops right there. So let's drag our bookmark right there. You can change your color while it's selected. If I have nothing selected, you won't be able to change it, but you can always click it and change the color of it. You have 10 different colors to choose from. I'm going to do purple for basketball, of course. And you can give it a name as well, beat drop, you can call it that. So beat drop is now there, and you'll get to know at any time where you are. Oh, that's the beat drop right there, as you're adding bullets and markers and tags and stuff like that. Very useful. You can have as many bookmarks as you want. In fact, if you had one here, you'll notice that beat drop is no longer fully visible, the tag, and that is simply because you might have a tag here that is labeled as something else. And so this allows you to not have them overlap, so you can always kind of read what's going on. If you want to see the tags, you can either click them or zoom in further to see what's going on. Another cool thing is if I turn this off, we can move this right here. Snapping actually works with bookmarks. So if you're snapped to your grid, you can also, as you can see here, snap to bookmarks as well. Very handy. The bookmarks themselves also snap to the grid. They don't snap to bookmarks, but they snap to the grid, and same rules apply here. If I were to hold shift, I can do fine movement here. If I were to hold shift, I can do fine movement here. So same stuff applies. You can delete bookmarks if you want. You can hit the delete key as well. All the same stuff. So that's very handy, and those get saved. Those are strictly for the editor. The main game doesn't care about them. They're strictly for the editor. And the last thing I want to show you is a brand new tab you've probably been staring at called Extras. And Extras, for now, only has one thing, Clear Events. It's going to have a whole bunch of stuff in the future. I'll make new videos for that when those are ready. Definitely next year, not this year. But Clear Events, some of you have been doing by hand, and that is just a way to clear the screen of bullets. So I'm actually going to reset these back here, because I want to be able to play this part here where the bullets are firing. So you can see these bullets are firing. and they're making their way across pretty easily. I'm actually going to put a bookmark right there, Control X, so I can see what's going on. Now I can still see that moment there. I'm going to add a clear event. Let's see what it looks like. Let me fire out. Let's have it go right there. So I'll put a clear event there, and we'll watch as it fires off, and bam, it's gone. Put another one right there, sure. So the clear events are very useful. This entire timeline in the extras is, by the way, a brand new set of 10 layers for all of these extras, as they're called. You see the layers are even different. You can call them different names, right? And when you go to the bullets tab, they're different. So in fact, you can, just like before, hide or it's actually more like disabling a clear event at this point because you can't really see them. But if I did this now, you'll see that the bullets do not get cleared because I'm temporarily hiding this. Now keep in mind, this toggle is ignored when you're playing the main game. This is strictly for you to see an effect without tampering with it. So if you want to see what the bullet pattern looked like before you cleared it, that's how you would do it there. So that stuff is all saved. The last thing that I wanted to show is, actually there's a couple of things. Number one is, have you ever had something selected, like you had bullets or something, and you're on the add tool, so you want to click here to deselect, but you can right click but stay selected. Maybe you change to the selection tool and you click here to deselect. Well, now guess what? It doesn't matter what tool you have. If you have something selected, you just click over in the gray area and it deselects. How lovely is that? That is such a game changer. You can just click off on the side and it's deselected. That's just lovely. Okay, so now the last thing I actually want to show you is distribute evenly, which is something everyone used in the first Soundodger editor, but has been missing since this one launched. So let's just say you wanted to have these bullets kind of fire on thirds in between. I mean, right now, in the old version, you wouldn't be able to do it. You would kind of do this and kind of keep fudging them to make sure they're perfectly there. Well, now it doesn't matter. You have this, you have a distribute button, click that, and they're perfectly where they need to be. In fact, it doesn't matter how they are, they'll always distribute evenly in the order that they are. The cool thing is, it also works across different layers, doesn't matter. So if you select all of these and hit distribute, oh, they're already distributed. Here, I'll do it. You can see the difference. There it goes. It also works with clear events. You do need a minimum of 3 because it makes no sense. There's nothing to distribute between these two, which is why that's not selected. But if I add a few more, we can in fact distribute them evenly, which is very handy. It also works for events. So if I have these and I select, bam, they're distributed evenly. Pretty cool. Maybe I had a lot more things to show than I thought. So now you can select anchors, and they have their own deck up top with a value input. So you can start typing values and have it be whatever you want. And is it not working right now? Let's see. No? Well, it should be working for you. Don't worry about that. I'll take a look at that later of why it's not working. Like in between now and when the update comes out. This should be working. So it's not working right now. I'll take care of that soon. And let's see, what else? Was that everything? Oh, I guess if you really wanted to, you can also distribute bookmarks evenly. I don't know why you'd want to, but you have to control click to select them and then do Control D, and there you go. So there you'll be able to distribute those evenly as you so desire. One last thing before we go is that there is, as you can see, a different drop down up here for clears. You can change that to what is called instant, and that will in fact make the bullets disappear instantly instead of having the particle effects left over. So if I fire this off, you'll see this instant here. I'll move it back here. So they fire off and then bam, they're just gone. And then here it is with particle effects here, so you can kind of see that difference. There we go. Please enjoy all of the new stuff in the brand new update for Soundodger 2. If you want to see a list of all the other stuff, I'm putting the patch notes in the description of this video so you can read through all the little tiny things because there's a bunch of little bug fixes here and there. That's about it. Thank you. Happy dodging. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.